Hi everyone, thanks for joining me on another look at Karahan Tepe. We're going to have a look today at some of the building sites, some of the excavation sites, some of the, it's going to look like rubble to most people, but not to you, because you have the benefit of the fact that I was kicking these stones around when I was there. This is really just an examination of what is still at the site. What's been left over, what has been uncovered, what is happening on this site. I mean, as many of you will know, the famous thing about the tepes is that they were deliberately covered up. So they were these religious or astronomical sites that were of probably profound importance to the people who used them, who worshipped there, who were regulars there. I mean, these were places that would have been just tremendously significant. And then they were covered up very carefully with a range of stones. And so what we have today is partially excavated, and then the other part of it is still buried beneath tons and tons and tons of stones. And I mean, it's almost exciting because it's like having a Christmas present that we have to unwrap for archaeologists and other nerds like myself. And what I wanted to sort of point out in today's video is that as you're walking around the site, you can come across, I'm going to say it's probably in the range of hundreds of partially exposed T-pillars. So these are unearthed, but clearly visible T-pillars. And you'll be able to see in this video that there are certain sections where you can see that the tops of those stones are protruding from the side of the mountain. And you can tell that they're T-stones very clearly because from the portions of the site that are excavated, you can see the difference in the weathering between the tops of the stones and the bottom of the stones where they've been submerged in earth and rock. I think one of the things that is interesting as well is that the placement of the stones, when these stones were covered, it was not done in a hurried fashion, such as when you might think, oh, well, this was, as a consequence of some sort of turbulent times, maybe some, a time of war or a time of famine. These sites were covered up very deliberately and very slowly, and we know that because all of the stones were still in their, largely still in the ordinary location. So the sites weren't desecrated prior to being closed up, or they weren't covered up by people whose intention was to destroy the significance of these sites, which is something that we see in war zones around the world. These sites were covered up very carefully, and there was numerous possessions that were left there, smaller stone sculptures, iconography, these sorts of things that were left in the area. And that's one thing you'll notice when you go to the site, is that there'll be someone there to watch you, someone who's a member of the archaeological expedition or an assistant to them, and they will be keeping a very strict eye on you, just as they were me when I went there, because not far beneath the surface, there are potentially, items of incredible wealth and value and significance. So it's just one thing to sort of, it weighs heavily on the mind as you're walking around this location. And the final thing that I'd like to talk about in this video is this small, sort of not particularly distinct section of Karahan Tepe, which is located by my compass directions southeast of the only part of the site that is excavated. So if you can imagine this hill, it's perhaps an eighth of it, or maybe even less than that, actually appears to have any sort of excavation work done to it. And then there are a range of areas where you can see that there's sort of something going on. There's certainly buried T-pillars, as you've seen pictures of. But then there is this one section which is, it's not roped off, you can still walk down to that area, but what appears is on the left-hand side, you have a mostly submerged T-pillar, and on the right-hand side, you have another mostly submerged T-pillar. But then in the center, it seems like this area has sort of collapsed. And I walked out to this area, and this was the area where the archaeologist who was at the site and ensuring that we didn't go too far off the beaten path took the most umbrage. This was the point where we were I was told in no uncertain terms not to go over here because it would cause a problem. I wanted to go and have a look, so I just wandered around and took a couple of photographs, but you could tell that the center of this area descended, almost like the covering had either collapsed or maybe there had been some sort of preliminary work done by the archaeologist to check what was in this site and to get a sense of whether or not it would need to be excavated. I'm not sure if there's been any particular objects recovered from this site already. If they were particularly close to the surface, that would seem quite likely. But it's just an area that has... it's clearly going to be, I think, the next section that they excavate. And I think it's quite likely this is going to be another chamber of substantial size. So, yeah, enjoy. Look, everyone, thank you very much for watching this video. Hit like and subscribe because I am enjoying doing this. And I think I deserve recognition for my efforts. All right, enjoy, everyone. I will hit you up with another video of Karahan Tepe or Göbekli Tepe shortly.